What's up, Taiwan? I'm Reece with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan's ruling party whip is threatening to recall huge numbers of opposition lawmakers, as well as the legislative speaker. Harrell Hughes reports on how accusations of anti-democratic behavior are sparking outrage in the legislature.
Political rifts are widening in Taiwan as the ruling party's caucus whip rallies to recall a whopping 2/3 of opposition lawmakers. Democratic Progressive Party whip Ke Jianming made the call at a press conference on Saturday, saying the opposition, which controls the legislature, have been acting against the Constitution by forcing through bills with a political agenda.
我们要双罢，第一个要罢免政务院长。 第二个要罢免国民党41个区域立委，都应该把它罢掉。
The Kuomintang, with support from the Taiwan People's Party and 2 independents, hold a combined majority in the legislature. The 41 legislators targeted by Ke make up all the opposition's publicly elected lawmakers and are thus subject to recall laws. The other 21 opposition legislators were elected through party votes. Ke and the wider DPP have vocally opposed a slew of opposition-led constitutional amendments, which they have been powerless to stop. This includes changes to the legislature's investigative powers, recall measures, and government funding allocations. KMT lawmakers are calling Ke's plan absurd.
柯总统啊，像小孩子一样在胡闹，这根本假议题啊。 不可能成立的，中央大党执政党怎么会去做这种傻事呢？是唯恐天下不乱嘛。
And on Sunday morning, another high-level KMT official, Wang Hongwei, accused the DPP of a premeditated, coordinated attack, saying they're ready to respond with their own attempts to recall DPP legislatures. And now, with both sides of the political spectrum threatening to rally the public to oust lawmakers, the political chasm here in Taiwan will stretch even wider, with rhetoric set to fly all the way up until Lunar New Year celebrations later this month. Alex Chen, Reece, Ayers, and Harrell Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Farmers have been growing and drying persimmons in Taiwan for centuries, with persimmon cakes especially popular during the Lunar New Year period. But climate change is threatening farmers and the centuries-old custom. Wesley Lewis has more.
Carrying on a time-honored tradition, 68-year-old Lu Lijian's family has been making persimmon cakes for over a century here at their orchard in northern Taiwan. Every winter, they lay out pitted and flattened persimmons on circular wire racks to dry in the wind and sun, a traditional technique used by the country's ethnic Hakka community.
阿公的时候就开始在这边做个柿饼了到现在已经有100多年了。因为我们这边的气候比较特殊嘛，还有叫做新竹风，所以比较干燥。
It's in this region that 90% of Taiwan's dried persimmon cakes are processed. They're a popular gift, especially during Lunar New Year. Much of what Lu dries out comes from other farms, like that of Luo Zhino, who delivers truckloads of the fruit nearly every day. But he says the past 12 months have been tough. Taiwan's persimmon growing season usually lasts from September to December. But in 2024, 2 powerful typhoons made landfall in October, a first in the country's recorded history, devastating Luo's livelihood.
损失惨重，还是台风影响比较大啦。这个叶子太大了，你台风一吹，叶子就掉光了。叶子掉了，果粒就没有叶子，它就掉，果粒就掉了啊。
Luo says his crop yield has dropped by at least 1/3 compared to previous years, losing him over $30,000 in revenue. What's more, he says warming temperatures meant some of his trees that withstood the typhoons didn't bloom and produce fruit. 2024 was Taiwan's hottest year on record, and agricultural officials say climate change will only continue to aggravate matters.
近几年来，我们也发现，在大环境的一个改变，甚至气候变迁或者是暖化的这样的一个大趋势之下，那有一些产区会做一些位移，那有一些产量会受到外界的大环境的这样的一个影响，来受到这个产量，不管是产量或者品质上的一个浮动。
To offset this year's deficit from the low fruit supply, Wu Lijian's family plan to sell dyes made from persimmon skins, and to even use the seeds and peels to make skincare products. Like other farmers, Lu continues to make do with what he can, earning a living by carrying out an age-old tradition, despite the looming threat of climate change. Howard Zhang and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
A deadly scaffolding accident ahead of Taipei's New Year's Eve celebration has city officials and some council members divided. A worker fell to their death Christmas Day while helping prepare the stage. According to some city councillors, the city broke a promise to relatives that it would shut down the site for a month, instead letting work continue 2 days later. Local officials say they only let work proceed after careful checks and that they will hold the contractor accountable. But this hasn't stopped questions about how the cities handled the incident.
赶着要跨年啊，不要让那个市政府丢脸啊，所以就马上就草草的就让他复工了。一个生命就这样子消失了，不是说你市长出来讲一下，我们一定会就责。那就责救了10天呢，那责还在哪里？
The city's Labour Department says the worker hadn't undergone proper safety harness checks and that it's working to finish a full accident report. Myanmar has released nearly 6,000 prisoners from detention. The move came during the nation's Independence Day celebration. Philip Broussard reports on the emotional reunions across the country.
Cheers outside a prison in Yangon, Myanmar, as the first bus of freed prisoners leaves the front gate. This is just one of hundreds across the country, releasing thousands of people under an amnesty deal from the country's military government. Some families are reunited immediately, while others search the crowds, hoping to spot their loved ones. Myanmar has been in turmoil since 2021, when the military overthrew the elected government, violently suppressed pro-democracy protests, and sparked an armed rebellion. In the years since, the UN estimates more than 5,000 civilians have been killed, over 3 million people displaced, and more than 27,000 people arrested. As part of Independence Day celebrations, state media has announced the release of thousands, including 180 foreign nationals.
အကျဉ်းထောင်အချုပ်ထောင်စခန်းအသီးသီးတွင်ပြစ်ဒဏ်ကျခံလျက်ရှိသောအကျဉ်းသားအကျဉ်းသူ9864ဦးကိုရာဇဝတ်ကျင့်ထုံးဥပဒေပုံမှန်401ပုံမှန်ခွဲ1အရ
Though these large prison releases are common on holidays in Myanmar, thousands of people remain detained in the country's prisons. But friends and family members are hopeful that one of these buses will mean freedom for their loved ones. Eason Chen, Harrell Hughes, and Philip Broussard for TaiwanPlus.
Antony Blinken has set off on what's likely the last foreign trip for the US's top diplomat, heading to South Korea, Japan, and France. The Secretary of State is set to meet with top officials in Seoul. The US State Department website says Blinken will reaffirm ties with the democratic country currently embroiled in political turmoil with its president under investigation for insurrection. The two sides will also discuss Asia-Pacific security and trilateral ties with Japan, a topic that Blinken will also address with officials in Tokyo. In France, talks will focus on challenges in Europe and the Middle East. A motorcade carrying the body of former US President Jimmy Carter has completed a tour of his home state of Georgia. Mourners lined the streets of towns across the state as his remains made their way to the Carter Presidential Library. President Joe Biden is expected to deliver a eulogy at Carter's funeral in Washington, D.C. on January 9th. The former president died at the age of 100 on December 29th. As peace talks resume between Israel and Hamas, families of Israeli hostages are rejecting a partial ceasefire deal after Hamas released a video of a female hostage.
Our hearts are with her family and friends at this emotional moment. This nightmare cannot go on any longer. All 100 hostages must be brought home, and the war must end now.
Families of hostages taken by Hamas in October 2023 gathered in solidarity for their weekly statement in front of Israel's defense ministry. They are demanding a comprehensive deal that will free all the hostages after 456 days of captivity. It comes as Israel and Hamas resume peace talks in Doha, brokered by Qatar, Egypt, and the US. Researchers in South Korea are working on a robotic exoskeleton that may give people with paraplegia a new way to move through life. Chris Gorin has more.
Kim Sung-hwan is a researcher of robotics in South Korea. And as a person with paraplegia, he could be said to have particular skin in the game in his field of study. After years of work, he and his team may have reached a new breakthrough. This new robotic exoskeleton was developed by the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. It might not only allow people with paraplegia to walk, but also move to its pilot, who can suit up directly from their wheelchair. Kim says it's given him new hope.
아빠는 지금 이렇게 휠체어를 타고 있지만 주호는 이제 이렇게 걸어다니고 뛰어다니고 있잖아. 이런 사람도 있고 저런 사람도 있는 거야. 하지만 아빠도 이렇게 걸을 수 있고 걸었던 적이 있었어라는 거를 좀 다양한 경험이라고 해야 될까요? 그런 걸 좀 그냥 얘기해 주고 싶었어요.
The suit weighs only 50 kilograms, has 12 individual motors, allows users to walk at speeds of over 3 kilometers per hour, and even walk up stairs. Cameras and sensors perform thousands of operations per second to keep it stable and avoid hazards. The high-tech suit was partly inspired by Hollywood.
그 아이언맨 좋아했었거든요. 근데 아이언맨 보면서 실제로 로봇으로 사람들을 좀 도와주면 좋겠는데 이런 생각도 있었고.
The research team says their goal is to test their award-winning exoskeleton beyond controlled environments like the lab, in real-world conditions like uneven terrain and bad weather. All part of the team's mission to redefine what it means to stand on your own 2 feet. Scott Huang and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
The Taipei Zoo has welcomed some new members to its animal family, 5 bush babies, a small primate from sub-Saharan Africa. Cadence Curanta reports.
A new year and a new beginning for this bush baby, one of 5 brought into Taiwan illegally, and now settling in to a new home at the Taipei Zoo. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, these nocturnal animals need specialized care, and zoo officials say members of the general public who will likely lack training should not try to raise them. They could harm the animals' health by feeding them the wrong food, or by raising these normally social creatures in isolation. The rescued bush babies, which naturally live in forests, have been put into the zoo's indoor rainforest exhibit, a new home that is now open for visitors. Patrick Chen and Cadence Curanta for TaiwanPlus.
Farmers in eastern Taiwan have transformed a rice straw art festival into a safari park. Held annually during the fallow winter season, the event in Hualien County features art installations made by local farmers. This year's theme is African Savannah. Among the lifelike structures displayed are lions, buffaloes, and crocodiles, attracting tourists eager to take photos with the unique creations. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we head over to Tokyo, where a bluefin tuna sold for $207 million, marking the second highest bid at the fish market's annual auction in 25 years. I'm Reece. Take care and see you next time.